I want to say a few words about the so-called Ten Commandments. Now, I want to immediately mention that this term is not a Jewish term. Nowhere, neither the written Torah nor our sages, the Chazal, ever call Aseret Hadibrot or Aseret Hadvarim the Ten Commandments. That would be in Hebrew Aseret Mitzvot or something like that. Eser Tzivuim maybe, Asarat Tzivuim. I'm not sure how it would sound in Hebrew even, because I've never seen this term in Hebrew in any sense. What literally Aseret Hadvarim means, by the way, this term Aseret Hadvarim is not mentioned anywhere in this week's Parsha. In Parshat Yitro, when we read about the revelation at Har Sinai, it's not said anywhere that there are 10 Dvarim there, or Dibrot, or anything like that. However, the Torah does mention in 3 other places that it was 10 Dibrot, or rather Dvarim. It's for some reason it's written in masculine, but today a lot of times people refer to it in feminine. But it means the same thing. Aseret Hadibrot, or Aseret Hadvarim, as the Torah calls it, is mentioned in Parshat Kitzisa. 3 weeks from now we're going to be reading this, I think. And then it's going to be mentioned twice in the book of Dvarim, in Parshat V'etchanan and in Parshat Ekev. So it's definitely 10. The 10 is not some later tradition that there are 10 Dvarim there. It does mention in the Torah in 3 different places that there are 10. But it's not mitzvot. It's not 10 commandments. It's 10 Dvarim. What does Dvarim exactly mean? You could say 10 sayings, maybe, 10 sentences. By the way, there exists a tradition which in some congregations this is always how the 10 Aseret Hadvarim are read, and in some congregations only on Shavuot this is the way they are read. And that is that they are read what is called with Tam Elyon, with the musical notes, the Ta'amim, the higher ones, what is called, meaning the longer Dibrot are said all in one big sentence, and the shorter ones are said also as one sentence each. So, for example, the first 2 are all read as one, and then each next one, some of them are pretty long. For instance, the commandment of Shabbat, it includes a lot of different words and sentences. All of that is read as one big verse. On the other hand, commandments like don't kill, lo tirtzach, lo tinaf, those ones just consist of two words, and are also read as one sentence each. So that's one way of reading it, and as I said, not in every congregation it's always read like that. The other way to read it is in a way that some dibrot are all in one big sentence, for instance, lo tirtzach, lo tinaf, etc. And some dibrot are, in fact, consist of a number of verses. That's the different type of system of ta'amim, which tries to keep the sentences more or less the same size, not too long and not too short. And what's interesting is actually the pronunciation of certain letters might also change based on ta'amim. And that is, there's this peculiarity in the Hebrew language that sometimes, for instance, dagesh might appear in a letter depending on whether the word follows a different word and there is a pause between them or not. If the ta'amim between them kind of split it into 2 phrases, or they don't. So something like lo tirtzach, Ashkenazi pronunciation would be tav without dagesh is s. Some Sephardim pronounce it as th. So the point is that when it's tam elyon, this is one big sentence, one short sentence rather, one verse consisting of just 2 words. Lo tirtzach. But when it's all read as one long sentence, lo tirtzach, lo tinaf, etc., then it will be read as tav without dagesh. And certain vowels also change, kamatz and patach. So there is actual difference in pronunciation. Mishnah Berurah mentions, by the way, all this in the laws of Shavuot when he discusses the reading with Tam Elyon. So there are actual differences in pronunciation of words depending on not just the notes, the musical notes, but even the way the letters are pronounced, depending on which Tam is read by. So at any rate, the clear tradition for all of this is that the split of the Aseret Hadvarim is in such a way that the first 5 are basically long ones, And the last 5, mostly, except the very last one, are mostly short. The very last one, do not covet, is actually pretty long too. And what's interesting is that in the first 5, the name of Hashem appears in every single one of them, Hashem Elokecha. And in the last 5, there is no names of Hashem at all. The Gra used to say that actually, there's a tradition from Chazal like that as well, that the 5 correspond to the other 5. That's why there are 2 luchot. So the first of the first series of 5 corresponds to the first and the second series of 5, etc. And in a sense, the right luach would have to do with the name Havaya, and the left luach, according to Kabbalah, has to do with din, with judgment, so it has to do with the name Elokim. But what happens is that the name Elokim that belongs to the left side actually comes together with Havaya on the first luach. So that's why in every dibur there's Havaya and Elokim. In the first 5, both names of Hashem, main names of Hashem are mentioned. And in the next 5, there are no names of Hashem at all. That's the kind of mixing that's going on. We want, in a certain sense, that the judgment will be made sweeter, sort of, by the name that represents mercy, kindness of Hashem. Right? The names of Hashem have to do with the way He rules the world, as I mentioned many times in various lessons. That the names of Hashem, why is there more than one name? If God is one, why should He have more than one name? So that already was a question according to Midrash that Moshe asked Hashem, and Hashem told him that depending on what I do, that's how I'm called. So the name Elokim has to do with judgment, and the name Havaya has to do with kindness and mercy. So what I wanted to mention on this lesson is why we don't call it 10 Commandments, like the non-Jews do. And the answer is that there are, first of all, more than 10 commandments here. The actual number of commandments is much more than 10. Even the commandment of Shabbat alone includes a number of different commandments. There are all kinds of aspects of Sabbath that are included in the commandment. The positive aspect, the aspect of not doing work, possibly the special laws that even the animals should rest, may be considered a separate commandment. The whole question of how to decide what's a separate commandment and what's part of the same commandment, just a detail in the same commandment, is a big question. It's known that the tradition of our sages is that there are 613 commandments altogether. But first of all, it's not clear that all the sages agreed on it. Secondly, there are definitely many disputes on how to count those 613. So the Vilna Gaon used to say, really, there are a lot of different commandments in the Torah, thousands upon thousands. But there are a lot of details, and the question is how to combine which ones are considered separate and which ones are not. So exactly how many commandments are in the Aseret Had'varim is a big question, but there are definitely a lot more than 10. And on the other hand, this whole idea that somehow the 10 commandments are very special, while there are Jewish sources for it, Rashi already brings Rav Sadia Gaon that in a certain sense various other commandments are also hinted in these Aseret Had'varim. That doesn't mean that these commandments are somehow to be separated from all the others. In fact, there were certain rabbis who were even against people standing up at the time when the Aseret Had'varim are read. Why so? Because they were afraid that people will think that these commandments are somehow more important than the other ones. Notice that within the 10 Aseret Had'varim, right, 10 sayings, there's not a single one that discusses kashrut, for instance, but that's certainly a very important integral part of the Jewish law. A large part of Sefer Vayikra deals with laws of kashrut. But there's nothing about kashrut in the 10 sayings in the Aseret Had'varim. Many other laws are not mentioned in Aseret Had'varim, which are a very integral part of Judaism. So Judaism is, of course, not just 10 commandments or even 10 dvarim that include more than 10 commandments. Rather, it's lots and lots of commandments on all kinds of topics. But these were the 10 that were revealed at Har Sinai immediately. But then there were many others that were revealed over time. Some of them Moshe received possibly the day after or immediately after the revelation. There's a whole dispute about Parshat Mishpatim. When was that revealed? Or was it at the time when Moshe was on a mountain for 40 days? But that includes a lot of different commandments on all kinds of topics. And in general, every commandment of Torah is very important. And on this I'll end. If you like this video, please press like and please subscribe to our channel.